All right, so we are doing the BD diesel exhaust manifold swap on a 2019 Ram 1500 with the 5.7 HEMI. Most of the broken exhaust stud issues were on the previous model years. I think we're just going to be dealing with a cracked exhaust manifold. So we have the replacements and we're going to get going. All right, so once you get the truck jacked up and you get the tires off, the next thing you're going to do is go here and start removing all these little bolts that hold in your fender, and then you'll just pull it and rip it back out. Then you should have plenty of room to see what you're working with. All right, so those are 8mm, and then once you get all those taken out, there's going to be one little plastic clip down here. Oh, sorry. There's one here. There's another one there. And then these two 8s that you also have to take out there and there. And then another plastic push pin up there. All right. Kind of have to bend it a little bit, push it back. So you need to push it back from here to get it away because it tucks in. So you want to push it back towards here to get it cleared, and then you just kind of start working this thing out. Oh, you know what? I missed one extra plastic tab up in the front, so we'll get that one out. All right, we got that out of the way. Now we get all this room to work with, and our problem is going to be from right there. You see it. So here in a second, we'll get started on the heat shield. And to do the heat shield, you have a couple of 10mm nuts that go on the end of the exhaust studs. Back those off, and then the aluminum heat shield should come right off. All right, so same thing on the passenger side. We've taken out the 8mm across here and the 2 up here, 1, 2, and then you're gonna have 1, 2, 3, and 4 of those plastic body clips you got to take out before you can pull the fender out. Now that we have those out, take this, peel it out of here, and now we can get to, this one's a lot easier than the driver's side, but it's all right here, easy to reach. You got plenty of room to get in here and work around, especially on the front. Okay, so this one's actually going to be a little different, because what I didn't realize until I pulled on this, it actually is a pop stud, because if that thing was actually secure, that piece on the end wouldn't be moving. So that guy is doing absolutely nothing. So that's a new one for me. Let's see how this goes. Let's see if you want to hold that. Basically, here's our pop stud. And we're gonna slide this heat shield out the front. Move some of these cooling hoses out of the way. And honestly, this ain't going back on, so you could kind of crumple it, but I'm gonna try to do it as neatly as possible. Okay. Got that there. All right, so there's the pop stud. See what I was talking about where it pops right at the head? So, yeah, it since the block's aluminum, bolts hardened steel, and you got cast iron for the manifold, they don't expand and contract at the same rate, and so you get all this stress right there at the head. You see how it fractured the bolt? So that's not ideal, but we did get a lot of leftover bolt right at the end here. It's basically sticking out, so we can, might be a little tricky to get it off, but I think we can work with that and get it out without having to get the welder. So we'll see. All right, so first we're gonna back out these bolts at the flange going into the rest of the exhaust. And there's two big ones here. I put some PB Blaster on there, just kind of loosen them up, and we'll go get the wrenches and we'll turn those out. All right, so we got that first bolt loose right there. We got it out, and after the PB Blaster, we got a wobble with a 14, and we got some extensions on the impact, and we actually went up from underneath, from behind the catalytic converter. And when you're doing this, go for this bolt first, because once you loosen this one, at least on this truck, this one has plenty of room that we don't have to get the big impact. We can get the small one up in there. So yeah, so do this bolt first, and then this one should be a little bit easier to get out since all the pressure's been relieved. All right, so this one we weren't going to be able to get an impact on because the bell housing's in the way. So we're just going to do with a wrench. It's a 14 millimeter. And the BD kit came with some new mounting hardware for that, so we don't even need to keep those bolts. All right, so now let's go back to fixing the broken stud issue.
Pull the whole thing off.
Well, yeah, so what we'll do,
and then have more stud even to work with.
Yeah, so we may have to go loosen the driver's side exhaust. We're gonna see if we can get around that since we have a little bit of wiggle, but we'll go ahead and loosen up the rest of the 10 mils, and then we'll try to kind of lean it forward toward the frame, and then see if we can kind of get it. Like, there's a lot of bolt left, which is good for us. We're trying to get it off, but it might make it a little difficult to get the
thing off.
Manifold off. So
it's not really moving much.
okay, so we might need to loosen the driver's side too, which that's all right. We can go do that. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and loosen. Whoa, we're gonna go ahead and loosen these two exhaust flange bolts here, so that we can drop it down enough on the passenger side to get the manifold over that broken stud. So we'll get the impact. I think I remember having a bunch of clearance to do it from under the truck on this one. Let's see. Yeah, we should be good. So do the wobble on 14. Nice. Oh, cool. That's fun. Okay, so back to this side. We have this that just broke as soon as we went to turn it, and then all these things. So what we ended up doing, we bent the edges of this little clip down, and now we can get crescent wrench on here, and then we're gonna try to break it without the impact. We're gonna do static loading, but just so you guys know what it is, it's this guy right here. Silly design, because this does not really do you any good once it's all rusted up. But yeah, that's the piece we have to hold, so we have to bend down all these tabs around it to hold it so we can back it out. So we're gonna get working on that now. Okay, so we got it out. Basically, yeah, crescent wrench on the top and then just a wrench on the bottom. The impacting it just wasn't working, so we just did the just plain Jane socket wrench with a 14. Backed it out, we're good. So now we're gonna start taking the heat shield off. Show the audience what we're working with. All right, so after loosening the driver's side, pulling down on the Y pipe, got this broken loose, and you can see that's what we got right there. So more than enough stud to work with. So we're going to try first, since everything's hot, we're going to try heating it just a little bit and then getting the channel locks on there and seeing if we can twist it. And if it doesn't free up with that, then we go buy a MIG welder. So, but once you get this out, pretty much to slide this piece, really you don't even need to slide it. The new ones you'll have to slide in from the front, but this one I think you have enough room to get around here. There's just a couple of, there we go, just like, cool. All right, ta-da. There's that out. There's the old gasket. And now we're gonna try that. All right, so we're gonna try first, just doing a little heat. Pressure while we're twisting. And oh, golly.
Is it breaking?
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Is it turning?
Yeah. Oh. All right.
How about some?
Okay, so after applying just a fraction of an amount of heat, we went to put the channel locks on there, and come to find out, this thing is practically loose enough I can just about back it out with my fingers. So let's get this tightened on here. That is awesome. Tell you what, let's get some PB Blaster on there and we'll work it in a little bit and then work it right back out. I love these engines, right? I've never had one before, but they're nice and powerful. I will say one other design flaw, whoops, that causes a lot of issues specifically with these bolts is that about 5 to 10 millimeters off the inside of at the bottom of these holes is your water jacket. So what'll happen is if you over tighten these going back in, then you'll break through the water jacket in the block, and then in the head, and then you have to get a new head. And that is a sad day. So don't do that, and always follow the torque specs, which the new bolts have a different torque spec than these OEM ones. The ones that come with the BD kit, they've got their own set. Look at that. That's awesome. Amazing. Look at that. We got really lucky.
Yeah,
That's not a lot of people get that lucky. So cool. All right, so we'll clean up the underside of the head, and then we'll go do the driver's side, and then we'll start putting these BD ones on. All right, so we're getting this side off. We got one stud out. Problem is, the other one on the top here broke off right in the block. So what we're doing for the rest to try to help is we're gonna get this out and do just slight amount of heat, and we're just gonna try to heat up these other 13 millimeters to hopefully get them loosened a little bit, or just unseized so they don't snap in half. But we're gonna do that. And then the bolt that snapped in half, it's this guy right here. So, yep, just a little stress fracture. Okay, so absolute worst case scenario. There, let me get this out of the tripod. We broke the bolt off right at the block while we were twisting it out. So that's super fun, which means we're gonna get to do some welding. But before we can even get to that point, we're gonna work on getting this, getting the manifold out, and it's a little tricky because you can't just pull it straight out of the side, kind of like you can with the passenger side. You actually have to kind of come through the back. And I remember what I did on my truck was I actually came through back here, and if you move the exhaust pipe out of the way enough, rotate here. Let's see. Let's see if we can get good enough angle with that. Yeah.
What's going now? The Wi-Fi back there.
Yep.
There it goes.
Okay. Then, if you can get this end up, get this over the, so you come forward, then you gotta push it through, and then you push it up around the side of the block, because you got to come down this side of the catalytic converter, and that is how you get it out. Okay. Here's that. Cool. Okay. And here's what we're left with. So that is what we're gonna have to fix, and that is not gonna be fun.
Oh, crap, yeah.
Okay, so I forgot, before we were gonna get into all the welding stuff, I forgot that when I did this on my truck, I bought this kit just in case. This left-handed turn screw extractor kit. It comes with the drill bit and the extractor. And on the other side, and hopefully what we're hoping for on this side is that once we actually get something to turn off of, is that it's still fairly loose in the block because there's no pressure on it anymore. So I think before we go get the welder, we're gonna try. So what I'm gonna do first is take a punch. It's got a nice sharp end on it, and we're gonna punch your pilot center point, and then from there we'll drill a small pilot hole, maybe try even the small thing first if it's loose, and then we'll drill up a little bit. But if this doesn't go in the first couple of tries, then I'm not gonna try to drill this whole thing out. I'm just gonna go get a welder. So we put a rag in the tube so that we're not dropping metal flakes on the catalytic converter. And now we're gonna go back and keep going. It is pretty hard to tell if I'm perfectly straight. All right, so we are back. We started doing the back out set that I had bought before for my truck. Started using it, realized that this is just going to take forever, and that we hadn't really even made that much progress after a while. So we ended up going to Harbor Freight, and we bought one of these 120 volt little mini welders. And we've done a couple of test runs. We had some old hardware here set up, and kind of following some of the other videos that people have made, we went ahead and welded a piece on there, and just for strength testing it, I welded it on, and basically we stacked up the bead in the middle pretty far, just enough to have about half coverage. So what that's going to look like on here is that we want to try to get as much up. If we could get it like this, that'd be great, but we're working with it flush, so we actually have to stack up material on the bolt itself. Whoops, we have to stack up material on the rest of the bolt that's broken off here. And then once we get it high enough so that we can have somewhat, so it's not just the bottom of this touching the top of the bolt, we want to try to get it a little bit in the middle, and then take the bead in there around the inside edge, and then kind of just do one big circle around the inside interior, and take breaks, kind of don't let it get too hot and melt off, and then build it up. And then that's kind of what we did with this one, and you can see it did pretty good right so far. I mean, this is just off the end of a bolt. We haven't been able to break it off yet. And if you're interested and you're looking, same issue, this welder I think was on sale for like 140 bucks. All right, folks, so we've used the little MIG, and we grounded right here off this part of the head. Right now you can see we've gotten a pretty good amount of stuff sticking out. So we're gonna take a nut here and, oh, where'd it go? I think I had it over. We're gonna take the nut and we're gonna hold it with this, like that, hold it, go in there, and then we'll try to get this tacked on and see if we can get this spun off. All right, everyone, so we just finished welding it up on here. You can kind of see, if I can get up there, see what it looks like. So we're gonna let that cool for a minute, and then we'll come back and see. It almost felt like it started to turn, even just when I was getting the vice grips off. So we're gonna let it cool down so that it finishes strengthening up and everything, and then we'll put a 14 on there, take it real slow, and we'll show you what happens. All right, let it cool down for a little while. We're gonna give it a shot. Actually, get this grounding wire out of here. I think 14. Literally just by hand, I'm starting to get this thing out. Wow.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm just getting it by hand. Incredible.
All right. Here, are you GoProing right now?
Yep.
That's terrible.
I'm going pro.
I cannot believe it had broken loose that much to where it just snapped.
Well, again, when we were taking it out, it snapped in half while I was trying to twist it out. So one, I think the bolt had already been stressed. Like, you know, I was telling you the thermal stress on it. I think it had been thermal stressed so many times, and I think that it was just seized up enough. But I think between the, probably between the PV blaster we threw up in there before we went to Harbor Freight and the, honestly, more or less the heat from the welder. Good. All right. And then here, if you guys are curious, that's what it looks like. Just that tiny little bit we got welded on there. That was enough to back this thing out. So now that we have everything set up and we're ready to go, I'm going to show you how this goes on there. So this is your passenger side manifold, right? The slot on the front, that's going towards the front of the truck. And so this is how it's gonna sit on the block. Now, the two gaskets you get, look for the curved back piece here, because that's gonna go towards the back of the block. And the way you match it up, the heat shield is going up toward the valve covers. Since those are plastic, you still need this heat shield there. And so the way that's gonna seat is on here, you've got the slot at the front, and then you've got a slot here as well. And this actually helps a lot, because what you can do is, when this piece sits here, this slot is lined up with this kind of star-shaped cutout. So what you'll do first is actually put the gasket onto the engine block, and you'll set it with one of these bolts, and then you'll take the actual manifold here and slide it down on top of this bolt, and then that way it can kind of seat there while you go put the other bolts in, and then you can go back and tighten everything. And then when you're putting all this together, it's in the instructions, but you use the standoff. This standoff is what helps eliminate the thermal stress loading, which is the reason those bolts pop. So this dissipates some of the heat before it can all build up right in the head of the bolt, so that it doesn't snap. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead, move this over, and start getting it installed. Okay, before we put everything back together, I'm gonna go in here. I covered the catalytic converter, and we're just gonna take some steel wool and just clean off all of the gasket face, so that we have a nice fresh mounting surface to work with. Once you're done using the steel wool, get an air compressor or a vacuum or something and clean out, because some of the steel wool will get up into the exhaust. The exhaust, what am I trying to say here? The ports. So either blow it out with compressed air or vacuum it out and get any leftover bristles so they don't go down in the catalytic converter. But you just want to clean it up so that you don't have this junk messing with your next set of new gaskets. All right, so now we got it all cleaned out. It's kind of loud, but I'm about to go clean out all the cylinders, but the faces are nice and cleaned up.
No emissions, I know,
Yeah.
but like, does it have like the manifold coming down to like a single header and through an exhaust?
Yeah, so there's
down at the bottom of the plane?
There's not even really I mean, it's kind of a manifold. It's not really, though. It's basically just 4 tubes that come straight down out of the bottom of the engine.
Okay.
And they go to kind of a muffler-ish that is also a heat exchanger for your cabin heat. And then from there, it just dumps it straight underneath the plane.
Okay.
So nothing fancy by any means.
I guess they don't want to put a whole lot of extra things to carry
No.
weight.
I mean, weight is the name of the game entirely for that whole thing, so you want to keep it as minimal as possible. Start setting this in here. And crap, I forgot about that.
See, I don't remember which.
No, it's the oh no, you know what? Actually, that worked. I went ahead, I put the spacer on the bolt for the hanger.
Okay.
And it worked. It's fine.
Here's our shield too.
Actually, I need a 14. But yeah, basically, you got your big old bolt. You got to put that spacer on there, and then you just run it up through the hole, go to your exhaust plate, and get them all started. And at least, as long as you can get a few of them good or set up so that you can square the gasket, that's kind of the biggest thing. So now we have all that seated. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten a little bit, not a lot. All right, so still kind of loose, but set up enough to where we can get this out, and that'll be pretty easy to put back together. But before we do that, we gotta go through the other side. Okay, so we're doing the driver's side now, and this is the part where the same way we finagled the old manifold out, we gotta finagle the new one in.
It's a lot of twisting and rolling and readjusting and just shenanigans. I think I need to make sure it's back. Like this. Get over. Alright, can you pull it down and towards the block or back? Well, yeah, let me double check and see where there it is. Can't really see where it is. Probably just straight down right there. Try to straight down again. The oxygen sensor's kind of wet. Just trying to get this. Now, keep this low, because we still have to get the, what's it called? Still have to get the heat shield in, or the gasket. And just about as ridiculously as getting the, well, maybe not quite as ridiculous, but put that on here, that. Okay, so there's the gasket, our starter bolt is, oh, where is it? There should be a slide one somewhere in here.
Alright, so from here, you can see we have everything kind of set in, and we're about to go put the hanging bolt in so that then we can start putting the rest of them up, and then we'll start snugging them down. Alright, so we have most of the bolts in, but there's one that's tucked up here, and the BD instructions tell you to disconnect the steering linkage. I don't really want to do that, but the way I remember doing this on my truck last time was this little bracket here. I actually remember disconnecting it. So you pop this piece off of it there, and then you unscrew that, pop out the plastic push tabs here, and then you can move this whole piece out of the way to get to the bolt that's up underneath. Can't really see it well, but it's like up underneath there. So, and especially when we get the torque wrench in there, we're gonna need that out of the way. Anyway, so we're gonna move that. Okay, so this is a 2019, which only has the 9 bolts. So we're only doing the 9-bolt pattern. Oh, whoops, sorry. Let me rephrase that. The early production, I guess the 2019s have 8 bolts. So we're doing 8 bolts instead of 10 like I did on my 2020, but either way, we're getting torque down to 25 Newton meters following this pattern. So we're gonna set this up, 25 Newton meters, and then we're gonna go do this top sequence up here to tighten it down. To 25 Newton meters, and this is our starting bolt. So all right, 25.1. First bolt tightened. So we're gonna continue doing that pattern. We'll go the rest of the way through here. It's all torqued up. I will say, in order to reach all these bolts, this is kind of the combo. We have a long 13, stubby extension, a stubby 13, it's like an impact rated stubby socket, and then just a plain short 13 that's just a little bit longer than the stubby. So this, and then we have a slightly longer. So between this combo here, this, you have to use some flavor of all this to get all, on the 2019 model, it's just 8 bolts. On the later ones, it's more, but that's what we had to get to. That's all torqued up. So we're gonna do the other sides, and then we'll do the Y pipe. We'll put those back on, and then the heat shields, put the fender liners, tires back on, and we're good to go. All right, so we're going to do essentially the same thing. It's 25 Newton meters or 18 foot-pounds. The pattern for this one, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And again, this one has 9 instead of 10. That's just a 2019 thing. My 2020 definitely had 10.
There's 2 of them back there. No, it wasn't these. It was a couple others that were hard to get much room on.
All right, so now that we have all that torqued, we're going to go ahead and set this up, put that flange back together, and then we do that on both sides, just get them connected, and then we'll torque at the same time. So we'll go do that next. We've taken the Y pipe and we've pushed up the whole piece from underneath and installed the bolt and the nut on each side, and these get torqued to 32 Newton meters. So we're gonna go ahead and start doing that. Okay, so quick pro tip when you're going to do this. So when you're putting this on there, it helps to have somebody push it up from the bottom so you can set these easily. But what you'll want to do is tighten one side to about, I don't know, with about this much sticking out, maybe a 1/4 inch. The thing is, when you set this one, it'll still be loose, but when you go to tighten this one, it's going to leverage this whole clamp against the throat here. So what you want to do is get this one set about how much thread you want coming through the nut here, and then go tighten this one, and that'll tighten both of these up because of the leverage pressure. But like the OEM, the ones from the factory that were on here, one of the bolts was like bent out to the side because they doesn't look like they really set that before. So anyway, we did that on both sides. We set the threads on the first one, the lower one, and then we came to the back one and tightened it, and now everything's tightened. So now we're gonna go torque it, and it shouldn't require that much, and then we should be done with these. Okay, so in the case of this back exhaust flange bolt, it does actually help to have one of these Sonex offset things, and these need to go to 32. So what we're doing is, as long as this is at a dead 90, then you get the same torque. So what we're doing is replacing this on here, get this seated. There we go. All right, finally. Okay, so that is all the flange bolts. So now we put the heat shield on, and the dipstick bracket bolt is back on. There's a 10 millimeter here, 10 millimeter on the underside. You got to do right here. You got this top heat shield bolt, the dipstick, the new mounting hole for the dipstick bracket, and this guy down here, you can see right there where I had to cut it with some tin snips to get it in there. And they say in the instructions you have to make a relief cut because the dipstick bracket kind of touches the top of the heat shield, so you have to make a relief cut in order to get the bottom one to connect. And that's pretty much it. So we're gonna go. All right, so the heat shield's on this side. You may have to put a couple of cuts in the aluminum to get it back against that, so that it lines up on the front here with that one. And then you also get this one down here, you can see right there, and you get the one on the bottom, and then tighten them all up to 10 Newton meters, and then put the fender liner in. Put this in. My goodness, look at all that snot. Hi. Oh my goodness.
You need the push pins over there.
All right, we got everything else buttoned up. So last step is just to torque everything down. And it's, no, I should be good with this. Torque spec from the user manual is 130. That's 130. Gonna do the other side. Then we're done. So hopefully that was helpful getting your new BD kit installed. It's a little trickier. I think we ran into pretty much every worst case thing so far. At least one broken stud on each side, so that's cool. But I learned some new stuff, and hopefully you did too. We'll catch you next time. That's it.
Click, click, click.
That's right. That worked.